Hi and welcome to our Facebook Live this evening. It is Wednesday, the 7th of June. My name's Jenny McCormack and I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. Normally I just go straight when I start my Facebook Live and you see my hands on my desk. I thought I'd pop on and say hi in person. Today, obviously it's always me in person, but I don't always like being on camera, so I'm trying to overcome my well, not a fear really, but just to overcome that element. So I thought I'd try and start some more videos with me saying hi to you. I think it's always nice to see the person behind the scenes. So there we go. So we have been using Nature's Prints. This is my stamp set of the week, and yesterday we did some straightforward simple stamping with the elements of the stamp set going around the edge of a sentiment. And today we're going to step that up a little bit more and do some masking using our lovely masking paper. Now this design is not an original idea of mine in any way, shape or form. Hi Carol, it has been around for a while. I did see a great example of it done by Lisa Cornwall, and I have a sneaking suspicion I also saw Martin Stone from Martin's Mayhem do something very similar. Now I looked back through both of their YouTubes and Facebook, and of course I couldn't find them. Don't know why that is, but I'm pretty sure certainly I saw Lisa do something very similar to this. So as I say, not an original idea, but it's a great use of the stamp set, and if you haven't got Nature's Prints, then you could use something very similar. So Forever Fern, for example, would be a good way to use that as well. So without further ado, let's hop onto the craft table and do some crafting. So this is Nature's Prints. Let me just move my microphone to the right place. Hopefully you've got you can hear me loud and clear. So Nature's Prints can be found on page 91 of our new annual catalogue. This started in May 2022, and it's the one with the pink and yellow flowers on the front with the real flowers behind it. And the actual Sunprint stamp set is part of a collection, and that includes papers as well as dies. Now I do have the papers, which I'm going to use later in the week. I don't have the dies as yet. But I might well introduce those at some point in the future. As I think I said yesterday, I don't always buy the dies at the same time. Now obviously if you know you're going to use them, you get 10% discount off both the stamps and the dies if you buy them together. But sometimes, hi Jeanette, I'm not quite sure maybe what I'm going to do with the dies. Sometimes I'll buy the dies and not the stamp set. So don't ever be afraid to split your purchases and do it that way. Obviously, we all like a discount. So this is Nature's Prints. As I say, you can find it on page 91. And this is the stamp set itself. And this is what we will be using for our coffee and card this week. Just going to straighten that up. I think the cat might have had something to do with that. There we go. Can't have it too wonky, can we? So this is the stamps that we're using at Coffee and Card. So we've used it on Monday. I'm at Filter Coffee on Thursday of this week in Bicester. And we're at the Lounge, formerly known as Hummingbirds, on Friday in Brackley. And I had some samples, and of course I can't find those. I took them with me on Monday, but I can't find them now. Typical. But this was one that I created very quickly during our session at Coffee and Card on Monday. So it's only half stamped, but I've used Blackberry Bliss, and the sentiment comes from our go-to greetings that has basically 3 sets of greetings, 3 different scripts plus a hello. So you've got this elaborate script, you've got a slightly curly feminine script, and then a slightly more plain but still quite interesting script there. So for this one I stamped just a note in Blackberry Bliss, and then I've used this element here, hope you can see that okay, and stamped around, and it would have gone around the top as well. And I did 2 for the samples, and you'll see those on the YouTube video that I posted earlier today, or you can scroll back through Facebook and find the finished pictures. I'll probably find them after I finish this, of course. So the one that we're going to create today is this one here. So we're stepping it up. Let me just move those out of the light a little bit. So basically what we're going to be doing is marking off a centre panel after we've stamped the sentiment. Just going to bring that. Oh, bless you. No worries, Jeanette. Try and get that straight for you. There we go. So basically we're going to mask off an area after we've stamped the sentiment, and then stamp the images around that, going from the blended area onto the white. Gives a really nice effect. And for this one I've chosen to use Evening Evergreen with an Evening Evergreen card behind it, and then I'm going to use soft sea foam for the blending. I just want a very light green. You don't want the blending to be too dark that you can't see the details. Let me just move that there so you can see that a little bit better. So this one I'm going to use Thinking of You, which I have actually amazingly got out in preparation, and we're going to be using a piece of white card, and I just want a little bit of grid paper so I can see whether I've got this straight or not. So it is Tuesday evening if you're watching this on replay. I hope you've had a good day, week, afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching. And I'm going to ink this up with Evening Evergreen, and I'm just going to stamp it first of all on my grid paper, just to see whether I've got it straight on my block. Because it's slightly ornate, it takes your eye off the fact whether you've got it straight or not. So I'm just going to have a look at that, and I'm just looking at this line here that's fairly straight. It's a lovely script. So I'm going to pop this one on first. So this is that really deep Evening Evergreen, one of our in colours from last year. And I'm going to have this one just a little way down towards the bottom, like so. There we go. Let's just bring that up. So pretty. It's a long time since we've had script stamps like this. I remember the long time ago. Whether they're just making a bit of a comeback, I don't know. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some of our masking paper. Now you can use post-it note if you've got a long post-it note, but our masking paper comes in sheets, packs of 12 sheets, and what we did for Coffee and Card was I just tore this basically into 3 pieces. So we've got them like here, and you can reuse these pieces over and over again. Okay, it's quite substantial. And what I would say is this is quite sticky, as you can hear. It's been used already and it's still really sticky. So I do recommend that you take a little bit of the tack off the back before you use it. Otherwise, what can happen is it can stick too hard to your paper, especially if you're pushing on it with your blending brush, and then when you pull it away it can rip some of the text. So I'm going to use one that's already been used. It's just this one here. And I would say just be careful if you use one straight after it's been used. Obviously this ink on here can still be wet, and so if you're not careful you can spread additional ink over, and it may contaminate what you've done. Now it doesn't really matter for this one because I've obviously used the green on here. So what I'm going to do is I've torn this either side, and what's really good about the sheets is that they're 7 inches wide, so you can put it over your sentiment in this case and hold it down onto your paper like so. Now I'm going to grab a green brush and I'm just going to see what green we have on here. Now I don't want it too dark. I am going to use that in a minute. So I just want to take some of that off. It's amazing how much stays on the brush. Okay. So I'm going to use soft seafoam. I could also use soft succulent, or I could use the new Parakeet Party. I'm going to use that. Pick up some of the ink and then pop it onto here. Now you can decide on the width of your strip and you can move it higher or lower. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to go with that that I have there. And often when you put this layer on, it doesn't look like very much because you're just going, in this case, quite a light colour onto white. So don't be too disappointed. The nice thing is, because we're going to stamp over this, it doesn't matter if you get an odd little bit of extra ink, because you can stamp over it with your chosen stamp. Okay, so there's that one there, and I'll do this one here. And ideally you want to start either off from the bottom or down from the top. Either way you want to start off the edge of this paper. Like so. So I'm watching the weather, because according to the weather forecast we should have rain here at 6 o'clock, and I've got a whole load of washing out on my line, and it's slightly dull, but it's certainly not raining. So I think I should be all right. Okay. So now I can peel this away. Now what I recommend... Oh, you got rain, Carol. Oh, how mean. Okay, is you can peel a little bit away. Okay, and decide if it's dark enough. Okay, for your design. Because if it isn't, then if you've left that on there, you can just literally pop your paper back like that. I'm not quite sure whereabouts you are, Carol. Okay. So I'm just going to peel that off. As I say, it's still really sticky. So I can use this a good few times, and all I've done, because I know I'm using this again on Thursday for coffee and card, is I'm just sticking it in with the stamp set. Obviously I've got new sheets as well, but there's no reason to use new ones necessarily. So there's my shading. Okay, now again it looks darker for me than it does for you. So now I'm going to introduce my darker colour. So I've got Evening Evergreen, and I'm not sure if I'm going to stamp all of it in Evening Evergreen or not. Oh, Truro, oh bless you. Nice part of the world though. So this is the fern. So I'm just going to stamp this just on here. See what it looks like. Like so. Now I did this design in the blue and white, so I did this with Orchid Oasis on Monday. That was only yesterday, wasn't it? Goodness me. Okay, so I did use this, but I really wanted to use the fern again, otherwise I would have used a different stamp. So a couple of the ladies used this one here on Monday. Yesterday it was really stunning, but I wanted to stick with the fern for this. So that's the bottom bit. Let's just lift it up a little bit. And then I can put more on the top, like so. So I'm just being careful, hopefully, not to ink it up on the edge. So I have inked this up a little bit, but I've been careful not to rock the stamp. So although it's on the edge of the stamp, I'm not putting extra pressure on to hopefully, so I hopefully don't get it on my card. But I am just going to wipe that off to be on the safe side. Now I've done this panel here as white, but it would be equally easy to do the reverse of that, which is have this stamped and coloured and these two pieces white. Be quite easy to reverse that. Okay, I think I'm going to stick just with this one colour for this. And I might then do another one with that reverse, just so you can see the difference and maybe use that different stamp. Now obviously what you could also do is you don't have to necessarily mask this off. If you want to and you're careful, you can just use the blending brush on its own and just stop the blending at a certain point. I like the definition that you get this way round, but you know, it's by no means the only way to do it. And on this one I added the dots from the Forever Fern stamp set. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one just there for a minute, and I'm just going to show you the opposite way round of that. I've got another piece of card, I think she says. I had another piece of card. Just going to turn this over so I don't transfer too much of that ink anywhere. So this time round I am going to take my piece of masking paper and I'm going to place one at the top like so. I'm going to stamp my greeting and then place one at the bottom. Actually, I'm going to take this off while I stamp my greeting so I get a chance of it being straight. And I'm going to do it in the same colours, but I'm going to use a different stamp just so you can see the difference as a contrast. So let's, as it's already ready to go, I'll take the Thinking of You here, and I'm going to put this one more central. Like so. Sort of straight. Okay, and now I'm going to bring this one down like that. Grab another one here. I might want one that's a bit deeper. This one here. So you can decide how much of that you want inked or left plain. So I'm doing the reverse of that one. So I'll do the same colours, but I'll change the stamp. Hi Jill. We had great fun with this on Monday, didn't we? So I've got the same ink, so soft sea foam, and in fact this was one that Jill, who's watching, she did greens on hers on Monday. Really stunning. Actually it was green and Blackberry Bliss, as I remember. So again, just blending this in. And you can make this line as hard as you want. Obviously the more ink or the darker ink you put on and the more pressure you put on it, the darker that contrast line will be. They were great, weren't they, Jill? And although I designed mine as monochrome cards, there were quite a few people that did them in multiple colours, which was really effective. Okay, so just going to do this fairly swiftly. No idea if it's anything like straight. Let's have a look, see. Okay, so interestingly enough, and I'm not sure whether you can see that, but the purple on the edge of this has transferred onto the edge of my mask, my masked layer, which actually is really effective, but I'm not sure whether you can see that or not. If I just lift up, can you see there's just a little bit of Blackberry Bliss on the bottom? So if you don't want that, make sure you're using either the same colour piece or a new piece in between. Okay, and now I'm going to do the stamping. I'm going to use this stamp here on the white space, just going into there. So I could have made this a little bit wider, and maybe I will introduce some Blackberry Bliss. Although that wasn't my plan. Oh, that's not Blackberry Bliss at all. There we go, that's better. There we are. Okay, so let's use this one, and obviously you could use multiple sets of stamps. So just try this and see. So I know that my Blackberry Bliss isn't really dark. And you can choose whether it goes past that bit. There we go. Like that. So it's got like little delicate berries as well. I just lift that up for you to see. Oops. So quite a different look. Just put that bit in that very corner, and then what I might do is have the fern at the top. In the green, so we've got a mixture of the two. And I'm sort of alternating the way that this goes so they don't all go in the same direction. Otherwise it looks a little bit unnatural. Like so. And a last little bit in here. There we go. Put a few ferns in these little gaps here. Just to tie the two together. So it looks a bit messy because I've got it on my all over my sheet. I'll move that away. That's a better view, isn't it? There we go. So I've made use of the fact that this has got that little bit of Blackberry Bliss that's been transferred across to add in the Blackberry Bliss across the bottom. So let me bring that up like so. And then these I'm going to put back in here, ready for Thursday. And then I've got my layers here. So this is Evening Evergreen. It's that one there. And then I could use Evening Evergreen or Blackberry Bliss on that one. I might use Blackberry Bliss just so I've got a different version. Oh, and there, I told you I'd find them, didn't I? Of course. So, if you weren't with us on Monday, this was our Monday design. So there's that one there. And then it's stamped inside and also on the envelope. It was literally in front of me, wasn't it? And then this one is in Orchid Oasis, which is this one here. And this sentiment is from the Nature's Print stamp set. And then I've added that on the back of the envelope. And I also use the little sort of ink splat as well. So those ones you can see on Monday's video. Hi Brenta, I hope you're well. Thanks for popping on and thanks for saying hi. I can't get this back in. Okay. So these are the two that we've created this evening. This one I created beforehand. So we've got this one here, which is Evening Evergreen for the sentiment and the fern, and soft sea foam for the blending. And I put a piece of our masking paper across the centre once I'd stamped the sentiment, and then I've done the same for this one. And because I used a mask that had a little bit of Blackberry Bliss on, it's transferred a little bit of that across, which is fine. And I just took advantage of that and stamped the bottom section in Blackberry Bliss. So I'm just going to layer those up. I'm going to pop that one onto Blackberry Bliss, and then they'll go onto a white card. Like so. There we go. And obviously you can stamp the envelopes as well. So 2 cards. So these are standard basic white thick card. So I start with A4 and then I've cut it in half and I've scored it in half. Just use that bone folder to get a nice crisp edge, and you want to do it on both sides like so, then it'll sit nice and flat for you. So this is Nature's Prints. If you haven't seen this one, this is in the new catalogue. So I'm going to layer those up. I've got some glue here, hopefully. So scribble on the back. You don't want to add too much, especially to white card. Otherwise you can sometimes see through it depending on your design. And I'm just going to slide that onto there, and that will then spread the glue as well. And then when I'm happy with it, press it down and add it to my card. And it's getting darker, but I think I've avoided the rain. Fingers crossed. It's been a good day for getting washing dried though, because it's been quite breezy. There we go. There's that one there. And then the reverse one. So I wonder which one you prefer. Do you prefer it with the centre of panel shaded or the edges shaded? Now obviously these are different sizes, so it's not a direct correlation. But I'd love to know which one you prefer. I think I prefer it with the 2 edges, because somehow that seems to frame it better. There we go. Check I've got the card the right way around, and then you could add some bling. Now thinking of you, the perfect sentiment for exactly that. It could be bereavement, it could be just somebody having a hard time, it could just be saying thank you. Maybe somebody's, you know, away for a little while, working away. Maybe they're having just started retirement or something. Edges shaded, yeah, thank you Jeanette. Okay, so there we go, there's our 3 cards. So that's the one I started with. This is Sweet Sorbet. This is Evening Evergreen, and then this one is Evening Evergreen and Blackberry Bliss. just showed that one in a bit more detail to the camera. And so I added the dots on there as well, just to soften it as well. So there we go. That's the second in our series using nature's prints. We'll be back in the morning for something different. I know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm not telling you until tomorrow. Yeah, something different tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I'm going to introduce the papers as well. They're called sun prints and they're absolutely stunning. So I'm going to combine the stamp set with the papers. Brenda likes the ones with the edges shaded. Yeah, I think it just seems more balanced, doesn't it? That's the best way I can describe it. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me this evening. Let me move that out of the light of the reflection. So I look forward to crafting with you again. I will be here, all being well, at 10 AM tomorrow morning, Wednesday, as normal. And then again on Thursday at 7 PM. So I hope you're able to join me then. In the meantime, do take care, look after yourselves and your loved ones. And I hope you have a good week. And I look forward to crafting with you again really soon. Any questions or queries, don't hesitate to pop them on the comments section, either here on Facebook, or if you prefer to watch it on YouTube, you can do the same on YouTube. Thank you for your time. Bye for now, everyone. Cheerio.